managing the mind is a very subtle and difficult operation. So you have to be in control of the mind and yet not stifle it. That's important. Because many people, in the name of discipline or religion or whatever it is, or to lose weight and look good, control themselves so much that the mind then finds its way out in other ways. Like, a person who's on a very strict diet starts getting angry.
Yeah, angry.
Angry, yes. So you should avoid that. One should avoid.
Namaste and welcome to another episode of our show on the Bhagavad Gita with Srimati Jaya Row, renowned teacher of Vedanta and also my mother. I am your host Ajay. Jayaji, it's been quite a journey, right? 25 episodes. How are you feeling about it so far?
It's rejuvenating. Every episode that we have I find it rejuvenating because you look at the same thing that you know already from a different perspective. And even for the audience, I'm sure it comes as a breath of fresh air because you're listening to something or watching something that is different from the way you had heard it earlier, but it's the same thing. So Shankaracharya refers to it as pratipaksha bhavna. You view the same thing from a different perspective and it's fresh.
Yeah.
So I think this is the main takeaway from these episodes, which would help the young particularly.
Yeah, and I think what we try and do in every episode is approach different topics that we feel the challenges that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Because at the end of the day, the value of the Gita is how much we put into practice. It's not how much we listen or how much we think about it. But if we don't put it into practice, into our daily life, it remains mere theory, right?
Yes.
So today, the topic that we're going to talk about today is decision making, and one of the things we're constantly faced with as human beings is choices, right? Every moment of the day, you're thinking, "Oh, should I eat this? Should I eat the dessert, or should I not? Should I say this to this person? Should I not? Should I pursue a career in banking, or should I pursue a career in design?" I'm just giving you an example of the kind of choices we are faced with on a day-to-day basis, bigger choices, more trivial choices. And sometimes it feels like, at least to me, sometimes I feel like it's almost a burden because sometimes you look at a dog's life, and it seems so simple, and you don't have to think too much. There's no stress. You just follow your instinct, and that's how it is, right? Whereas us, if we follow just our instinct, we'll land in a bit of trouble. So how is it that, I would say, why is it that we make bad decisions in the first place?
So the first is that, as you said, like a dog makes a decision on instinct. It doesn't make a decision. It acts on instinct. Many of us act on impulse. But while the dog can get away with it, because its life is kind of already pre-decided, we can't get away with it because we've been given the choice along with the intellect. So you're supposed to think before you can't just act on impulse. So many of our impulsive decisions turn out to be wrong. The second is that there is no thinking. The decision is taking based on the mind's functioning, like on emotion, or you like someone, so you do it, or you like a thing, so you do it, And so most of the time when you function on likes and dislikes, you are opting for instant pleasure. And the Gita has already said that which gives you instant pleasure gives you sorrow in the end. So they are wrong decisions.
So is that a law? I'm
Most.
just wondering.
But So, what we are told is not that we should not have instant pleasure, but that we should think about it before we engage in it. Like, once in a while, junk food is okay, but to eat it every day is the problem. So, if you think about it and regulate your life as per the diktat of the intellect, you'll be fine. But most of us don't do that because the intellect is either not available or not strong enough. And the Gita helps you to achieve both. The third is that we don't have enough knowledge. See, a typical example is a young girl goes into a marriage thinking she will change the guy.
Or it could be the other way also.
Or the way,
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah.
But a person gets into a marriage thinking that he or she will change the spouse. That is impossible. So you've got yourself into a jam because you can't change the other person. And then you have to suffer as long as the marriage is on. So there are people who have had a lifetime of suffering because of this one thing. And sometimes you think, like even me, I think if only I knew in advance, I would have taken a different decision. And I wouldn't have had to suffer so much. So many of us just don't know. And that is the most important thing that the Gita gives us. It gives us knowledge of how the world functions, how the human mind functions, and how to navigate your life through it. So if you don't know this, you make a lot of wrong decisions.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes, like, the question that pops up in my mind is sometimes you see people who are hugely successful in the world, and I mean across the board, but somewhere they falter and they self sabotage their own careers and their own lives, I would say. So, like a Tiger Woods, brilliant golfer, right? But somewhere down the line, it appeared like he lost his way. Or Lance Armstrong. I mean, I remember there was a time when all of us used to wear these yellow Livestrong bands.
Bands.
And he was such a phenomenon, right? And then he just threw it all away for performance enhancing substances that he consumed. Or so that's in sport. Or you see a Maradona, brilliant footballer. But I was watching the documentary the other day, and then he just kind of just couldn't handle himself. Right by the end of it, it was so sad because his he was a genius, right? Or you see it in corporate life. You see that what happened with Enron, the corruption and all of that. Or you saw just recently that whole scandal about the astronomer CEO getting caught on the kiss cam at a Coldplay concert. I mean, these are intelligent people, right? What is there no correlation between this worldly intelligence and the utilization of the intellect? Because you would think that someone who is so good, who has disciplined his mind to train so much, like an athlete or in corporate life, they have achieved so much, becoming a CEO and all of that. You would think that that would extend to making good calls in life also, no?
No, because there is a difference between intelligence and intellect. So
Okay.
intelligence is just gathering of information, which is the equivalent of AI now. But how you use it is where the intellect comes in. So, like decisions on how to control the urges of your senses, how to control the attachments of the mind, this is not something that AI can give you, or not something that intelligence gives you, or how to control your anger, for instance. And then what happens, you see, ordinary people, because they have natural checks and balances. See, you're an ordinary person. You can't afford to get angry with a boss. You can't afford to do what all these guys have done. So there are natural, what I would call as checks and balances. So they get by with less intellect. But once you earn name, fame, money, and all of that, that's like a heady wine.
Because there's very little resistance to your decisions, right? I mean,
Yes, because you can get away with a lot.
yeah. Or you can
Plus,
afford I would say, yeah.
Plus, the mind itself is lured to things that you are available to you, which earlier were not available to you. Choices that are not available. Therefore, they say that the higher you go up, the deeper must be your foundation. Now, if that foundation is missing, which is values, which comes from first intellect, the ability to just control your wild impulses. May not be wild, whatever it is, impulse. And to know the right value. What are the values that I should adhere to? Which in the past in India, you had kings, you had people with an immense wealth and influence and all of this. But they kept their head on their shoulders because they were established in values. And that is the need of the hour today.
And they also had some, like an in-house
Guru.
in court,
They had
family
an
guru or whatever.
in-house guru who
Yeah.
would be consulted naturally,
Yeah. And
by
even
default.
and even the court jester,
Yes.
the I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, the objective of it was, and you see it even in Western civilizations.
Yes.
The objective was to hold a mirror up to the ruler in a humorous way. So he was the only one who had he or she would have the only one to have license to
Yes.
make fun of the
Yeah.
royalty indirectly or directly.
Yes. So you're right. The court jester was the philosopher,
Yeah.
actually. But whatever it is, we had these things in place that prevented you from going off track.
Yeah.
Now there is no such thing. So you see, as a person goes up, like this 15-year-old cricketing phenomenon,
Vaibhav Suryavanshi.
Vaibhav Suryavanshi. How is he going to handle all of this? When if he doesn't have the right values, or the dedication to cricket, which for instance Sachin Tendulkar had. At 17, he went and played his first test match in Pakistan and then he became a sensation.
Right.
But hats off to him, he kept his head on his shoulders. This is very rare. So it comes down to the need for Vedantic values now.
Correct. So one thing is about having the knowledge and having a foundation in values or Vedantic philosophy or knowledge or equivalent, right? So one thing is knowing it, but what I feel is many times we know what the right decision is, right? For example, if I've decided not to have a dessert after 7 p.m. on weekdays, right? But then I'm sitting one evening, I may be tired from a long day of work and there's a bar of chocolate lying around. I'll succumb knowing fully well that this is not what I want to do, this is not what is good for me. So I know, I know what that decision, I know that I'm making the wrong choice, yet I go ahead and act on that impulse, right? So how do we, so it's not about knowledge now, it's about application. So how do we improve our application of what we know?
Yes, this is the question Arjuna asked Krishna right here in the 3rd chapter.
Okay.
What is it that makes me do what I don't want to do? And the answer to that is kama esha, krodha esha. It's desire, it's anger. It means modification of desire. So what happens is, let's say your intellectual level is this much and your desire goes above it, then you succumb to it. Even if your intellect is functioning. And most times your intellect is not functioning because the desire has just taken over. So there are various things that you can do to prevent this from happening. The first thing is whatever you've decided not to do, you must keep that distance from it. In other words, you've decided not to have dessert. Dessert should not be available at home. That's the first thing. The second thing is you should keep yourself occupied with other things. So you don't even think of the dessert. At that time, all of us have a particular time of day when you feel tempted, food-wise or whatever,
Yeah.
or even drink-wise, like liquor. 6:30 in the evening, a person who has a weakness for alcohol reaches out.
Yeah.
At that time, you have to either do something else or be preoccupied with something else, so that the moment passes and then you're free from it.
True.
But the most important thing is to develop the intellect and simultaneously fix a higher goal for yourself in life, find purpose, so you don't succumb to these things. And when your mind is constantly on the goal that you've set for yourself, like a cricketer for cricket, so every time he's tempted, he thinks of, oh, tomorrow my batting is going to go down, my performance is going to go down. Is it worth it? So then you decide the right thing, you keep away. Then you also have to make sure that you don't frustrate yourself too much. So you have to allow yourself certain cheat days, which depends on how strong your weakness is and how powerful your intellect is and how much you have dedicated to the goal. So you can't allow yourself to get frustrated. You must give in, even if it means a little compromise in your discipline. So if you do all of this, see, managing the mind is a very subtle and difficult operation. So you have to be in control of the mind and yet not stifle it. That's important. Because many people, in the name of discipline or religion or whatever it is, or to lose weight and look good, control themselves so much that the mind then finds its way out in other ways. Like, a person who's on a very strict diet starts getting angry.
Yeah. Angry.
Angry, yes. So you should avoid that. One should avoid it.
Yeah. So we know the role of the intellect and the importance of the intellect in decision making now. But there is also this aspect of conscience that comes in, right? So what is the role of the conscience in decision making?
Yes, see, all human beings have the intellect, which is of two types. One is called gross intellect, tikshana buddhi, with which we make choices in the world where there is no value, like profit and loss, day and night, so on and so forth. That itself helps you in life. But we are also blessed with what is known as subtle intellect or sukshma buddhi, which is the conscience. Now, that is an amazing instrument we have, which is like the mariner's compass. Just as the mariner's compass points only north,
Yeah.
the conscience points to the spiritual north, which is the higher, the better, what is good. So it differentiates between right and wrong, good and bad, so on and so forth. So let's say a businessman is faced with a project that is going to be extremely profitable, but his conscience may say, you are going to destroy the environment. So don't do it. So if you follow your conscience, you can't go wrong in life. With the intellect, you can go wrong
Yeah.
because you can do unethical things which are profitable.
Yeah.
But with the conscience, you can't go wrong. That's why Shakespeare has said, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. And it is the conscience that has been given the least priority. There is no attention paid whatsoever. Which is why you find highly intelligent people, brilliant people, falling for things and committing wrong actions and then getting caught and all of this. Because the conscience is not developed at all. So everyone has a conscience. But to the extent it is covered or sabotaged by desire, it doesn't function.
Yeah. And the quote about the Shakespeare quote that you mentioned. So the what it says is fundamentally, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you are true to yourself, then by being true to yourself, you're being true to others around you, right?
Yes.
True to your conscience.
You can't then be false
False
to
to any
anybody
other.
else.
Yeah.
And you can't, you see, then you're following this divine law. So you can't break any other law.
Yeah. Having heard everything and today and over the course of the past, 20, 30 episodes that we've done so far. It feels like we come back to the intellect, we go around, and at the end of the day, the answer is the same. Like, it feels like no matter what you do, it's about strengthening the intellect, which is kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like boring, right? I mean, how many times are you going to tell me that I need to strengthen my I'm not talking about you, but I'm saying like, we'll go around and we talk about things, and eventually this is what it boils down to. Is it as simple as that?
See, it's like this. If someone, there is, let's say, a bottle of poison in the kitchen, and there's the lady who's cooking doesn't really know the impact of what it means. So you go to her and repeatedly say, "Arey, this bottle has poison. Remove it from the kitchen, because by mistake, if you use it, everyone's going to lose their life."
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. And until such time as she gets it, you have to repeatedly say. The moment she gets it, even she might get it even when you're not there. Sometimes you're thinking, suddenly she just leaves everything, picks up that bottle of poison and junks it. So that is the thing. Why is it that the Bhagavad Gita, or why all of us talking about the intellect so much? Because it is so important. It is functioning without the intellect is as disastrous as consuming poison. Because you can completely destroy yourself with that.
Yeah.
And people have not woken up to it. So, see, a child, we are all made to fulfill desires. Okay? Now, where do you draw the line? A child says, I want to play a game, a video game or whatever. I don't want to study. So, the child acts on feelings and intellect goes out of the window. Now, for a parent, that is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So, that is enforced. But as long as it is enforced, the child follows. The moment that governing power is removed, she goes back to the same thing. Until each person understands the importance of the intellect, it's only after that that you let go. But the problem here is the intellect is that which takes you from wherever you are to the highest state of perfection, to that state of self-realization. The last instrument to go is the intellect. So you can't help but talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, my question was only because, like, no matter what question we have as human beings or what issues we have, somehow it boils down to this, right?
Yes.
Boils down to intellect, strengthening your intellect
means
and using it.
Gross intellect and subtle intellect.
Yeah, of course.
So you see, there are problems in relationships. Okay? You get down to the bottom of it, it is lack of intellect. Because you don't think.
Yeah, we'll call it emotional intelligence.
Or you're not using your conscience. You have no consideration for the other person. So all problems in life, or whether in corporate life, same thing. In governance, same thing. Like, why is the president of the United States doing what he's doing? Or why is somebody else Iran doing what it's doing? It boils down to intellect and conscience.
Right.
So if you use the intellect, both, and both need to be used because they both operate in completely different ways. It's like having an axe with which you cut wood.
Yeah.
And having a sharp, or what do you call that, subtle instrument with which you cut, in biology, in botany, you cut...
Dissect.
Yeah. There's a difference between the two.
Yeah.
You can't say, I have one and not the other. It doesn't work. Yes, if you have the conscience, it'll take you to realization. But you will be taken for one big ride in the world because you're not using your intellect. Typical example of this is Yudhishthir. He suffered in the world, but ultimately he got to the state of
why did that
realization.
happen though?
Lack of intellect. Gross intellect.
Yeah. Okay.
He had a very sharp, subtle intellect. So he knew what was right and wrong.
Yeah.
But he made mistakes. Like played dice and wagered his own wife in that. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to do.
Yeah, makes sense. I think a lot of, food for thought there. With that, shall we begin with the invocation, continue our study of the Gita? We're on the last few verses of chapter 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
So we're on chapter 3, verse 38. So I think what we'll do is, this time onwards, we'll listen to the verse, the chanting of the verse, and then we can get into the interpretation.
Sure.
So we'll listen to verse 38 now.
धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निः यथादर्शो मलेन च यथोल्बेनावृतो गर्भः तथा तेनेदमावृतम्.
So in verse 38, Lord Krishna says, as fire is obscured by smoke, as a mirror by dust, as an embryo by the uterus, so is this Atman covered by that desire.
Yeah, this is a beautiful verse because it's a blend of poetry and philosophy. So he's trying to explain that there are three kinds of desires. The three kinds are sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, and how they operate in the world. So he's giving three examples, each of which is based on two things. One is, how much can you view divinity through this barrier of sattva, rajasa, tamas? And how much effort do you need to put in? So the first is sattva. He says sattva is like smoke around fire. So you must have experienced when we go to a, let's say, a hill station and it's cold. So you start a fire outside. The fire is there and there is this thin veil of smoke around it. So there are two things to it. One is, in spite of the smoke, you can still see the brilliance of the fire. And number two, it doesn't take any effort. So a gentle breeze is enough to take away the smoke, right? Yeah. So sattva is like that because it's so pure and so refined that even though it is an impurity, it's something other than divinity, Atman. In a sattvic person or in the sattvic quality, you are able to see a divinity in and through that person, something very attractive. And number two, you don't need to make an effort to remove sattva. So the objective in life is to get to 100% sattva, and then it goes by itself. Rajas, on the other hand, is impure because there's desire, there's egos, all of this functioning. So although a rajasic person is very active, very dynamic, may generate a lot of wealth and employment and all of that, it's very difficult to see divinity in that person because ego and greed and other things put you off when you see such a person. And it is like dust in a mirror, meaning, so therefore you can't see your image. But also it takes effort. You have to take a cloth and wipe it.
So when you say it takes effort, what exactly takes effort?
You need to fix a higher ideal. You need to redirect your rajas towards the higher.
So you mean overcoming a rajasic desire?
Yes.
Yeah.
So to overcome a rajasic desire, you need to put in a lot of effort.
As compared to a sattvic desire.
Sattvic.
Right.
The third is tamas. Is like an embryo in a womb. Meaning you just can't see divinity. It's just totally obscured. Because that person has such very putting off qualities. Like extreme lethargy. Usually tamas is associated with lack of hygiene, unclean externally and internally, and just sloth. And sometimes um, things, addiction to various agents. So that puts you off completely. You can't imagine that there is Atman in such a person. And it not only requires immense effort, but time to remove. So once you understand this, and all of us have all three.
Right.
So wherever you have tamas, you have to declare war on it. You know? Laziness, unpunctuality, indiscipline, things like that.
Yeah.
Where there is rajas, you just need to change the direction towards
Redirect
the
it,
higher,
yeah.
redirect it. And sattva, encourage it. Because that is what, actually we are human beings because of the sattvic content in us. Otherwise we would be like brutes.
Yeah.
And many of us are like that because we're not encouraging sattva in us.
Yeah.
You see, even however bad a person may be, that jhalak of sattva, if the person has, it's so attractive.
True.
So this is it, and it's been put so beautifully, it's poetically.
Yep. We'll move on to the chanting of verse 39.
आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
In verse 39, Lord Krishna says, O Kaunteya, son of Kunti, knowledge is veiled by this unquenchable fire in the form of desire, the constant foe of the wise. Those are pretty strong words, right?
Yes. Actually, this is only one word. In these few verses, he has
Yeah.
used four. Remember the last time we started with the first?
Yes.
So there is Paripanthina, Vairin in an earlier verse. This he says Nitya Vairin, constant enemy of the wise. And later for last verse he uses the word Shatru. Now why is it like that? So first of all, knowledge is veiled by this desire. So you see anyone who has, like you yourself said earlier, person has the knowledge but allows himself to get destroyed. How? Desire.
Yeah.
And once desire gets a hold of a person, then you lose sight of what is right and wrong. It's like in the Ramayana, Sita took that decision to go with Ram. So as long as her attention was on Ram, it didn't matter whether she was enjoying the luxuries in the palace in Ayodhya or going through the rigors of Vanvas. But when her attention shifted from Ram to the golden fleeting deer, everything went wrong in her life.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
So what does that signify?
That desire completely overwhelms you.
Yeah, the deer and the
Desire for the deer.
yeah.
See, her own husband Ram tried to convince her that it is not what it appears to be. She insisted.
That's the material world. The deer, the golden deer, in a sense, represents the material world.
Yes, it represents. See, the golden is attractive, tantalizing, fleeting, passing. And DEER is what is DEAR to us. So you fall for any desire and you throw your entire life off course. That's what she did. So that is an indication. She represents the individual, you and me. That's why he's using such strong language. And partly because naturally the mind reaches out to objects of desire, right? And then the modern world has amplified it. So whereas naturally you are attracted to, let's say, a burger. Now they put it on a big hoarding and there's no way you can resist it. Same thing with cars. So long you are happy with your car. But now you're watching a program on TV and you see a new car being launched. And that moment, the moment you fall for that car, you are no longer happy with what you have. So this is the thing. So desire comes in the way of obtaining the object of desire. Because as long as your mind is agitated, you don't act properly. As long as the desire is not fulfilled, you are unhappy. And it stunts you. It keeps you small-minded, petty. So it just takes away from what is the best in you. That's why he says, constant enemy of the wise.
Yeah. So what is the way of dealing with desire? Okay, if it is the foe, how do we deal with it?
Good question.
Yeah.
So you see, it's like, let's take an example. You may be athletic, you are athletic. You are at the top of a flight of stairs and you have a ball in your hand. The ball slips, falls on, let's say, the second stair. You're able to retrieve it easily. Then it goes to the third, the 10th, the 5th. However athletic you are, you cannot retrieve it.
Yeah.
Desire is like that. So if you understand desire like that, then the first thought that comes to your mind, it could be a nice car, it could be a lovely vacation I can have, or more dangerous, nice person.
Mm.
Dangerous because by itself it's not dangerous, but if you allow it to multiply without the intervention of the intellect, see here again intellect comes,
Yeah.
then you're finished. You know, like for us, there's nothing wrong with saying nice person,
Mm.
but you keep investing in it, and your whole family is thrown out overboard, and you get into a hell of a mess. Same thing with a car. I mean, it's a simple thing, but I travel internationally a lot. And once when I was in California, my host had this top of the line 7-seater Tesla car. It's a beauty of a car. And for 5 days I was in it. She was driving me around in it. There's nothing wrong in saying nice car. I like cars. But if the intellect doesn't come in immediately and say, can you afford? Just ask yourself basic questions. Can you afford it? No. Can you easily import it into India? No. Okay, forget everything else. Do you have place to park the car? No. Then out it goes.
Yeah,
Then you're fine.
And is it even necessary? Is it a need?
Exactly.
Right? Between need and want, there's a difference, right?
So basic questions you need to ask yourself. If that is not done, then it just gathers momentum. And then I've thrown everything, the purpose for which I travel, I've thrown that out and I'm running after a car.
Yeah.
So this is what destroys people. It is not desire per se. Desire is fine. Everybody has. But when you allow that desire to gather momentum, and then it snowballs into something that you never bargained for.
Yeah. So now moving on to verse 40, we listen to the chanting of it.
Indriyani mano buddhihi asyadhishthanamuchyate etairvimohayatyeshaha jnanamavritya dehinam.
In verse 40, Lord Krishna says, it is said that the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect are its abode. Having obscured wisdom through them, it deludes the embodied. So here, when he's talking about it, he means desire, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in all these verses, he's talking about desire.
Okay.
So now, let's say from the previous verse, you have decided that you're going to deal with desire. You need to know the location of the desire. Where is it located for me to be able to deal with it? So he gives the 3 locations. First is senses. We have sensual desires through the 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. And then we have an emotional desire to establish relationships. We want to be loved, we want to love. And that's a very powerful desire. And then we have intellectual desires. There are people who just want PhDs or double PhDs or a Nobel Prize. So this is the seat of desire. So he says, having obscured wisdom, it deludes all beings. So what is this delusion? The delusion is in the belief that this will give me happiness. So that is the mirage that we are all chasing. Happiness is not out there. And that you never realize it. Whatever you do in life, most of us don't realize it at all. So you go through this multiple opportunities to rise above desire.
Yeah. And also, like, delusion in the context of desire also means clarity of thought, right? Like, desire, what it does is it kind of clouds. You don't see things for what they are. It's It's like you seeing the world through tinted glasses, and the glasses are tinted by whatever the prevailing desire is at that point of time, right?
Yes.
I mean, you may have a I mean, you could drive through the city, and if you don't have a desire, like you said, for a car, you won't even notice things. But if you have, if another person has a desire for a car and goes through the exact same experience, that person will say, "Oh, there's a Mercedes, or there's a BMW, or there's a Kia, or there's a Hyundai, whatever it is." So it clouds your vision, right, of the world, and you don't see things for what they are.
See, the thing is, you're moving in the opposite direction. Because what they say is that, first of all, we need to understand how does desire come? Desire comes where there is an emptiness, a void. So when your
Okay.
stomach is empty, you think of food.
Correct.
When you've just eaten, you don't think of food.
Absolutely.
So what is that emptiness that is gnawing at us right through our lives, from birth to death, from morning to night? That is something we need to address. And it's such a heartening thing that Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, tells us that even as you experience this void, you are actually full.
Yes.
So all you have to do is gain knowledge of your fullness, and then you can do whatever you like. So coming down to our level, what do? You have a desire, go fulfill it. But somewhere in the back of your mind, that suspicion must be there that happiness is really not in that. I really don't need it. I need something else. And that is enough to keep you centered. You know?
Yeah.
Like a dancer, whatever kind of dance, performs various moves and things like that, but is never off balance. She never falls.
Yeah.
Why? Because the center of gravity falls within her base. So that is why we need that base. Then we don't get caught off balance.
And as you've said in the past, the way to establish that base and strengthen that base is regular daily exposure to these values and knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
And so sometimes people say, "Oh, I don't have the time," or "Oh, I'm not inclined to doing this every day." But I feel like even time alone in nature, or in good music. I mean, there are something. If we say that we don't have time, it's just a poor excuse. It's about having the intention and then following through that intention with action. So it can be as simple as going for a walk alone, right, in nature or by the sea or wherever, in a garden nearby, because we're all in majority of us are in urban environments, or listening to uplifting music. It can be as simple as that.
Or you can even listen to the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, I'm saying so many
Sitting
things.
in the
Right?
car, you can listen to it.
There are so many options.
So what is lacking is the
Intent.
intention.
Yeah,
So once you have the intention, you find the time.
exactly. So with that, Jayaji, I think we've come towards the end of today's show. Are there some thoughts that you would like to leave us with, that we can take into the week ahead?
Yes, I think the important thing that you asked is about why is it that outstandingly excellent people who have achieved a lot in life destroy themselves. And that is because we saw that the reasons is that the higher up you go, the stronger the base should be, the foundation. And if the foundation is missing, because all this is like heady wine, which is difficult to hold in balance, If you're not that wealthy, you can manage. But you have a lot of wealth, the power and things like that, it's difficult. So you always need this base, which in ancient India they had by default. Then we looked at the verses where desire is dealt with. And throughout our discussion today, we focused on the intellect.
Yeah.
And you rightly asked why any question you ask, it boils down to intellect. Because as human beings, we have been given the choice. As a species, no other species has that choice. Because we have the choice, it is important to develop the intellect and use the intellect. Otherwise, it's like playing poker blind.
Yeah.
it's you have no idea where what life will take you.
Yeah.
So this is it.
And the value of the importance of the intellect in good decision making, right?
And conscience.
Correct. So yeah, with that, we've come to the end of today's show. We'll end with the closing invocation.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. As always, if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. We also have some live Guru Purnima events with Jaya Ji coming up in various cities across India. If you'd like to attend them, you can check the description for details or get in touch with us. We're also opening up our platform on our podcast for listeners. So every once in a while, we'll have a listener joining us on the show. So if you would be interested in joining us live in the studio on the show, please get in touch with us, and we can figure out when and where in Mumbai you can feature on the show. So yes, yeah, I think with that we've come towards to the end of today's episode. Have a wonderful week ahead, and we'll see you soon. Bye.